We're going to turn now to the challenges in American education. Every 26 seconds, a teenager drops out of high school in this country. It is a shocking statistic that sheds light on a nationwide crisis, one that General Colin Powell and his wife Alma are determined to combat. With President Obama, they've launched a new initiative to keep kids in school called Grad Nation, and they join us now. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Hi, George.
I know you've been holding dropout summits, dropout prevention summits all across the country for the last couple of years. What have you learned about what's at the heart of this crisis?
Our kids are not being engaged enough. Their needs are not being met. In too many cases, what they're learning is irrelevant in their lives. So it's time for us to take a good, hard look at what you need to learn to be relevant in the 21st century.
And it's especially important now, especially in this economy, because if you fall behind, Mrs. Powell, you never catch up.
That's exactly right. It is very hard to catch up. We have organizations that provide a place. We had a wonderful young man speak this morning who had dropped out of school and whose life was being led astray. But he was captured by Youth Build, and so now he is a very articulate young man who has received a high school diploma and is in college and has a future. So we do have safeguards like that, but that we have to engage them as much as we possibly can.
And General Powell, if we don't, one of the things we've also learned is that all of us end up paying for this.
We all pay for it, George. It's not only a moral catastrophe for us, it's an economic problem. It's a security problem. 200 to 300 million Americans, that we're going to hit 300 million if we're not there now, are on a playing field with billions of people around the world now who have come out from behind the Iron Curtain, behind the bamboo curtain. They are all investing in the education of their young people for a 21st century world. And America has to compete in that world, and we can't afford to lose our youngsters. So it is a moral and economic imperative for us to deal with this crisis.
And that's why, Mrs. Powell, you set such an ambitious goal. 90% of the fourth graders you want to graduate high school on time. It's only about 70% right now, and President Obama has put government money up front, about a little more than $3 billion, to transform these schools that are underperforming. You think that's going to do the trick?
Money is not the only thing that is needed. It is the will of all of us and of everybody in the community to take part in this effort to sustain and train our children and bring them along. It is a combined effort of the American people.
But if someone is watching at home right now and really wants to help, what's the best way?
Every one of us can find something to do. Maybe it's just go to a school in your neighborhood that needs somebody to come read. But don't just look in your neighborhood. Look in the neighborhood where these underperforming schools are, where kids do not see successful adults. That's where you ought to go. So each of us needs to sort of get out of our comfort zone in our nice neighborhood and get into neighborhoods where the schools are struggling, where kids don't see successful adults, and get into the lives of these kids. And you can turn them around. Kids want to do well. They want to be inspired. They want to believe in themselves. They want to believe in their society, but they need caring adults who will come in and help them.
And let me just finish with this for both of you. You've dedicated so much time to this over the last several years. Why is this issue in particular so important to you?
Each one of us has an obligation. For those who are given much, much is expected. What we have to understand in this country is that we all have an obligation to give back to the society that sustains us.
Well, you know, George, I was a public school kid in New York City, and I could have fallen by the wayside. But I had teachers who cared about me. I had parents who cared, who kept me in play. And many years ago, I was visiting a school in Florida. And then I went over to a Boys and Girls Club not far from the school. And I gave my little New York growing up story and my little Horatio Alger story, and my mother and father kept me in play. And one young boy raised his hand afterwards and said, "But what if you don't have that kind of a family, General? What if you don't have a mother and a father like that? Can you still make it?" And the kid really was turning over my whole card. It's nice for you to talk about your little family, General Powell, but I don't have that kind of family. Can I still make it? And I said to him, yes, you can, because you're at this Boys and Girls Club. People come here to volunteer. Citizens in your community are paying for this club, and you can make it if you believe. And if you take advantage of the adults who come here every day to keep you moving in the right direction, yes, you can make it.
May I add one thing in here? For anybody who wants to be involved, there are many, many ways to be. You can go to our website, americaspromise.org, and see some of the many ways that you can be involved. You can offer your services to communities and schools. You can offer your services to mentor. You can work with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Clubs. It is, the range is amazing, so that there is something for every single person to do.
We will connect.
Just don't sit back and say, gee, what can I do? Get up and go find something to do. It's not hard.
Okay, we're going to connect that list to our website as well. Thank you both very much.
Thank you, George.